Greetings, my fellow pizza lovers. Well, tonight is a controversial subject. Tonight, I'm making my dough for a Chicago style deep dish because I've had cravings. I'll never forget the first time I had Chicago style deep dish. It was in the early 80s at Pizzeria Uno, which happened to open up a place here in New Jersey. Loved it. Eventually, I did visit Chicago and I also tried Gino's and Giordano's. I didn't try any of the other ones. We weren't there that long. But I have to say, um, I'm sure there are reasons why there are favorites among people in Chicago, but I really couldn't tell much of a difference from one to the other, really. I guess you really have to do it a lot in order to catch that difference. But I love Uno, and I love making my own. But tonight, I'm going to change up the dough because, I got to piss a few people off. So, what's interesting about Chicago style deep dish is, of course it uses flour, but it's got some cornmeal. Now, one of the things that really pisses me off about recipes online is it's going to make two pizzas a lot of times. It's just me and my wife in the house. We're not going to eat two pizzas. No way. And if you freeze it, it's okay, but they're usually better when you make them fresh. So I cut the recipes in half for the dough so that I can make one 9-inch pizza, or maybe I don't know if I'm going to use a 9-inch pan or maybe a 10-inch pan. I don't know yet, but I'm going to make enough dough for one pizza. So I've got 250 grams of flour, which is about a cup, and I've got 15% because I broke down everything by percentages from the original recipe. So 15% of that, so about 37.5 grams of cornmeal. And then I've got some sugar, about 10%, so about 25 grams of sugar. I've got 5 grams of active dry yeast. I've got a half a teaspoon of salt, and we're going to use a 60% hydration, so we're at 173 milliliters of water. The way I came up with that calculation is I combined the flour and the cornmeal, 288 grams of dry ingredients, right? I'm not including the sugar as the dry. And then I just took 60% of that, and there's my wet. So here's what we're going to do. Oh, and now here's the thing that's going to piss people off. You ready? When you make Chicago deep dish, this is a whole stick of butter. When you make Chicago deep dish pizza, there's a step where many people laminate the dough. What does that mean? You roll out the dough, you fold in some softened butter, you roll it up, and you make a ball out of it, and then it's almost like making a croissant. However, it's really unnoticeable. So here's how I'm going to change things up. This is a whole stick of butter, which is 4 times the amount of butter that normally goes into this dough. 4 times, okay? What I'm going to wind up with is a lovely, almost puff pastry type dough. It's almost going to be like a croissant, except not, okay? I'm going to use my food processor, and you'll see how I do that. But the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put this back in the fridge to keep it cold. The first thing I'm going to do is put my water into this bowl with the sugar and the salt. Give that a quick mix. I want that fully dissolved. And see, that was kosher salt, so the crystals are bigger. It's going to take a little bit longer to dissolve. And oh, by the way, I did warm that water up to room temperature. I want that fully dissolved before I put the yeast in. Okay? And now I'm going to just sprinkle that yeast on top and let that proof. And then in the meantime, we're going to tackle the dry ingredients. Okay, so now we change the angle. You see how the yeast has bloomed? It looks very nice. I'm just going to stir that up. Okay, and now you see I've got my butter here. I didn't put it in yet. And I'm just going to pulse that until it's all mixed. Just the That's the cornmeal and the flour. Okay, now watch what we're going to do. Right? That's a whole stick of butter. That's 4 times the recommended amount of butter for this dough. But again, we're not going to laminate. We're going to make something that's very close to a croissant dough. I'm going to pulse it. Okay, that's it. Now, I want to show you. I'm going to get the camera nice and deep in there so you can see what's happened. Okay, so if you look inside, watch. You see how I've got nice big chunks of butter, right? I cut that butter into little cubes, but you see how I've got nice big, discrete. Some are bigger, some are smaller, but I've got some nice big, discrete chunks of butter. Dry ingredient right into the wet. And this is pretty much the same exact way I do the Danish braid, except that the Danish braid has milk and egg, and this has just water, but it's the same concept. Now that's it. After I get this lightly mixed, I'm not going to go crazy with it. I get it lightly mixed, right? Just going to fold it onto itself, and then I'm going to cover it, put it in the fridge overnight. I'm not even going to think about this. Well, I'm going to think about it while I'm sleeping, but you're not going to think about this because you haven't seen the video yet. I'm not going to think about this till tomorrow. Okay. All right. So it is day 2. I put this in the fridge overnight, and you see it looks pretty much the same as it did yesterday when I threw it in there. All right. So let's throw a little bit of flour on our work surface. And I will tell you this, though. It smells awesome. Right? You see it's a little bit sticky. That's okay. That is okay. This is not going to be your typical pizza dough. Well, it usually isn't anyhow, but this is going to be radically different. Okay, put that aside. Hit it with a little flour, right? Because it is a little bit sticky. Okay. And I'm just going to roll it out. This is the very same technique I use when I make the Danish braid. And that's a beautiful, beautiful dough. And it's just like making a croissant. Yeah, I know I said croissant. I didn't say croissant because I'm not French, I'm American, and there's no W in croissant. So there you go. So that's it. I'm going to just put it in plastic. And that is going to go lay down in the fridge for at least an hour. All right, put a little bit of flour on the board. Let's make sure that's all in frame. It is. Okay, now let's watch what happens. Right? Dough is magical. Look at that. So I'm going to do 2 more turns. And then I'm going to do a cheat turn at the end. So this is going to get turned twice. Look at those, beautiful. I don't know if you can see that from so far away, so let's do this. Look at those beautiful chunks of butter in there, right? That's beautiful. All right. Okay. Fold, fold. Put a little bit more on the bottom here so nothing sticks. You see how this dough is coming together nicely, right? And it's basically going to be like a Chicago deep dish puff pastry. I'm not going to call it Chicago deep dish, right? It's Chicago style. I don't want to get anybody pissed off at me, but there it is, right? Okay, we're going to do one more cheek turn after that goes in the fridge for another hour. Gotta let it rest. Gotta let those layers do their thing. Gotta let the butter harden a bit so that it stays with nice layers in between. Okay, so here's how I'm going to piss off the Chicagoans, Chicagoites, Chicago people one more time. I'm not going to put onion in my sauce, number one. And number two, I don't really like a cooked sauce. I'm just going to crush this garlic real quick. Just 3 cloves of garlic. So I remember the first time I had Uno's pizza. Actually, I remember pretty much every time I've had Uno's deep dish. What I really like is those large chunks of tomato that they have in their sauce. And again, I said I don't really like a raw sauce, so I'm going to make a nice chunky tomato sauce. And you see what I've got? I've got a can of whole San Marzano tomatoes. What I'm going to do is, normally I break them up. I'm not going to break them up. I'm going to just put them into the pan whole, simmer them for a little bit with a little bit of Italian seasoning, a little bit of dried parsley, a little bit of dried basil, and some salt and pepper, olive oil, of course. And I'm going to simmer it just for a little bit until it thickens up. But I'm not going to break up those tomatoes because I really want to have some nice whole chunks of tomato on the top of my Chicago pizza pie, right? It's not a pizza, it's a pizza pie. It's really a pie, right? We're going to love this. It's going to be awesome. Okay, so normally I would do my sauce in a pot, but there's my flame. But I want a lot of surface area, so I'm going to do it in this skillet. And I'm going to use a screen because I know it's going to splash, okay? But what I want to do is just cook it down to thicken it. I don't really want to cook it for a long, long time, but I don't want a raw sauce. I prefer a cooked sauce. Let's get a little bit of olive oil in there. So yeah, I know there's onion in the Chicago style pizza sauce. I get that, right? Everybody makes their own kind of sauce. There's probably some sugar in a lot of the recipes. I'm not doing that either. And I'm going to keep the ingredients pretty simple. Okay, so here we go. My garlic is at that stage where it's time to pop in my herbs and spice. Well, yep, herbs and spices. Okay. And now, like I said, I'm not going to crush them. Not going to crush them. I'm going to leave them whole. Okay? And basically, I'm just going to cook it a little bit, right? But I'm not crushing them, see? I'm just going to break them in half. Okay? Okay. And let's put the screen on because I know that's going to splash. All right, it's been about 10 minutes. Let's take a look. I got to take that out of the way so you can see, right? So you see how it's thickening a bit. I'm going to give it like another minute or so. I'm going to shut it off. That's it. Those nice big chunks, that's what I want to put on top of my pie. All right, it is time. Here's what it looks like. Here's what it looks like. Look at how nice that looks. You see I still have those nice chunks. Okay, I'm shutting it off. And it's going to just go in the back burner. Okay, this is the last time that we handle the dough until it's time to roll it out to make the pizza pie, right? Okay, let's do this. Now, as I said, I'm going to cheat a little bit, right? Well, I've been cheating right along. So, typically, when you do a puff pastry, you're going to fold it in thirds like I've been doing, okay? But I'm going to make a double fold for this one turn. So I did 4 turns already, right? Usually I would make 6 or 7. But I'm going to do a double turn here and shortcut the whole process. I'll show you how that works. Okay? So I'm going to roll it out a little bit bigger than I did earlier. And then I'm going to do a double turn. You ready? Watch. In, and then in. Look at that. Okay, now that's it. That's the last time I touch it until I roll it out to make pizza itself. Okay, now you're going to say, hey Tom, it looks like a rectangle. How are you going to roll it round? Don't you worry. It's going to be round. You'll see. Well, I am making Chicago deep dish after all, so I might as well do it in my Chicago brick oven. Yeah, so this is going to add a little bit of a challenge because I have to make sure that I don't have a real rolling flame to burn the top of the pizza, but I think I can control that. I just got to get the temperature up. I just started this fire, so you see my little thermometer inside is still reading at a very low temp. The fire was just lit. So in about 2 hours, hour and a half maybe, this will be up to temperature and I'll be able to put my Chicago deep dish pizza inside. Chicago style, right? Okay, so what you see in front of you is a 10-inch skillet. And I'm going to be baking these in a 10-inch cake pan. Now, I am not a big fan of putting raw sausage meat on my pizza. So what I'm going to do is pre-cook all of my little pieces of sausage. All right, it is time to roll out that dough. And I have a 10-inch pan, which means I need to make a 14-inch circle, right? I want it to come up 2 inches on each side. So, here's what we're going to do. Throw down a little flour. And I'm just going to roll this into a little ball, just like that. And now I'm going to try to roll out a 14-inch circle. Nice and easy. I want to make sure that I get a nice coating of olive oil in there. I don't want to leave too much behind, so I'm going to use a paper towel to pull out the excess. Beautiful. Okay. And now, let's pop it in. I want to make sure that I get it lined up so that I have some going up the side. Okay? All right, I'm going to cover that with plastic. Stay at least not dry out. Okay, so there it is. My oven is over 400, but you see that fire is too fierce for me to put my pizza in there. So what I'm going to do is let that burn for another 20 minutes or so. The oven will stay nice and hot, and then I'm going to bake my deep dish, right? Because if I put the deep dish in now, it's just going to burn on top. But I got the oven nice and hot. I just got to get those flames to die down a bit. Okay, so as soon as those flames die down, I think another 10 minutes, they'll die down a bit. I'll be able to pop that pizza in. You see I'm at 450 on there, and I did a scan of the base, the floor, with the thermal reader. It's pretty high. So I think this is going to work out perfectly. Like I said, I don't want to burn the top of the pizza, so I'm going to wait for those flames to die down a bit. Okay, it is pizza time. Now look at how much this puffed up. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to do the way they do and put layers of sliced mozzarella. And the reason why I'm doing this is because it makes a lot of sense. I want to have a nice moisture barrier so that the dough doesn't get soggy. So I'm going to put a nice layer of mozzarella, sliced mozzarella on the bottom here. Looking good, right? Looking good. I think, so this is 8 ounces. I'm going to put a little bit more than 8 ounces on the bottom here, since it is a 10-inch. Pan. Yeah, I'm going to put a little bit more. Just a bit more. All right, and I see a lot of guys doing this, and I think it makes sense. I'm going to put a bit of provolone. Not a lot, just a bit. Oh yeah, that smells nice. That smells so nice. One more slice. Yeah, baby. Okay, now here goes the sausage, right? Instead of putting raw sausage, I've cooked it because I don't agree with that raw sausage in here. Maybe they do it because they want that extra grease to cook in. I don't know, but I don't agree with putting raw sausage here, so I'm putting cooked. Okay, and now here goes the tomato sauce. Now, I'm going to be generous with it. And look at those nice chunks. That's what I really like. When I go to Uno, I love the way they put those chunks in there. Wow. And last but not least, we're going to hit it with pepperoni. Pepperoni. I'm not going to go crazy with the pepperoni, but I am going to hit it nicely. So that is basically a whole 28-ounce can of whole tomatoes that I cooked down a bit. Okay, I think that's plenty of pepperoni. Okay, let's sprinkle some pecorino romano on top of there. You could do Parmesan. I decided I want to do pecorino romano. And now I got to transport this camera outside because we're doing this in the Chicago oven. Okay, take a look at the size of the hearth there. That's a thick hearth, and the retention on this is incredible, heat retention. Notice I'm wearing a winter jacket because it is April, but I'm still wearing a winter jacket. Hey, we're in New Jersey. This is not outdoor weather yet, but I wanted to use the wood-fired oven, so we're going to have fun with this. All right, it's been in there 5 minutes. I put a little bit of a thin piece of wood in the back just to get a little flame going, and you see how already the crust is starting to brown on the top there, which is pretty cool, which means I'm going to bring that pizza closer to me, closer to the outside of the oven. All right, so yeah, this is looking good. I'm going to just let those little twigs die out, and I'm just going to keep turning it and turning it so it cooks evenly, and in about a half an hour it's going to be pizza time. Let's see if I can get a look at the top of it. Ooh, that's hot. Oh wow, that hurt my hand. Okay, let's see if I can get this thing out of here successfully. There's got to be a way. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Ooh. Okay, but I broke it. I broke it bad, didn't I? All right, well, whatever. All right, so let's get a better look at this. Right, so you see the outside here. I left it in the oven a little bit longer because I wasn't sure about the temperature out there. The very, very top is a little bit dark, but I don't think that's going to be a problem. The inside is nice and gooey. I'm going to let it sit for a little bit, and then I'm going to cut into it. Right, the moment of truth is here. So I'm going to pop it onto my board, and let's see if I can cut us a nice, it's kind of soupy. I think it's going to be okay. All right. Now, here it goes. The moment of truth. Oh, look at that. Nice. We'll cut one more. Oh yeah, looking good. Now let's take a look at that crust, huh? So let's get a better look at that crust. So there it is. It's a flaky, layered crust. This top part is a little bit burnt, and that's because it was in the brick oven. If you look back here, it's nicely browned. Let's go for taste. You ready? Let's give it a taste. Oh, wow. That is good. Very good. All right. Just trying to get a close-up view of that crust. Oh, man. I think I need to get a better camera. Like everything I'm doing is with an iPhone, and maybe it's time to switch up.